Alright, so here's our cake off to the side here uh, in PureRef. I'm going to be jumping between this reference and this guy over here because I kind of like the way this looks. I love the way that this higher to lower section. Yeah, let's get started. So we don't want to get too crazy with it either because it's going to be small in our render. Another thing I did is I rotated this minus 90 and then I hit Shift A, or sorry, Control A, and I froze all my transforms. So these guys are locked in place. So for example, with this one, I'm going to hit Control A, and then all transforms to delta, they're all zeroed out. And then I just hide or not hide, but I deselect. I make the ability to deselect it not possible. All right, so here's our cube. Let's go ahead and knock this out. So we want to go to our side view, and we want to turn on X-ray mode so we can see inside of it. Now, a couple things I'm going to do is scale this down with S. Hit G to place this. I want to make sure that I'm always zeroed on the x-axis. That's our center line. And I'm just going to duplicate this a bunch of times anywhere where I think I see a cube, and I'm going to size it up. Now, we're not doing any heavy edits at this point, right? Like I might do like a S and then like just hit Z and then make sure that it fits in that area. But what you want to generally do is use the cube in the scene. It accelerates your speed time. So if you're working at a studio and you need to have something gray box super quick for your art director, you want to kind of copy what's in the scene. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to hit Shift and D to copy this. Just move it up here and then scale that out like this. Scale it all together like this and then move that down in place. And what you'll see is now we created that top part. Now, full disclosure, in an industry environment, anywhere where two faces intersect and you won't see that face, you 100% should and have to sort of delete that top face because A, it's just taking up extra processing power that you don't need and you're not even going to be using it. So like it helps to do that. So anyway, so here's our cube 4. Let's make sure that this is also in edit mode, right? And so actually let's just move that in object mode. So with this guy selected, I'm going to move that back down into place. All right, so that's there. Now with this one, because it has all of its side, I'm going to duplicate that to create a bunch of these other chunks. So let's do that very quickly. So Shift D, I can see here that there's this big chunk here. Pressing 1 for my wireframe. Sorry. Looks like I hid my other collection with that hotkey. There we go. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm in edit mode because if you press 1 in object mode, it switches between your collections. So 1 to grab these guys, bring those down, bring this forward a little bit, and then I want to create this next chunk. So let's go back to object mode, Shift D, bring this down, go back to edit mode, straighten these out a little bit, bring this forward. I'm just going to add a little bit of a curve there, bring this up like this, bring this out. And I guess we can go ahead and do this because we're going to add a cut and extrude this down. And here, I'll just demo that for you right now. So if I bring this back here, and then underneath here, select this bottom face, right? And I hit E to extrude, I can just kind of bring that down. But this is a little bit outside of the scope of the gray boxing that I was telling you about. This is more entering modeling land. So, but if you look, it does add a level of appeal. You know, you're like, wow, that's already starting to come together in like 2 minutes. Yeah, and that's what's awesome about it. Another thing is I like that theirs protrudes out a lot more and this front face sort of comes in at an angle. I'm not going to edit that. Jumping around a lot on my word here, but let's go to object mode and then hit S to scale this. And what I want to do is just scale it out on the x-axis a little bit like this. All right. Now, what this is all sitting on is there's another box underneath here that this entire center section is connecting in all the way leading up to that engine part. So I'm going to steal this box here, hit Shift D, and then just, I'm moving this around. I'm just going to move it down on the Z axis like this and grab that bottom face jumping into edit mode here, grabbing that bottom face here. So let's make sure that we are in face mode by pressing 3. And then I have move selected, moving that down. Let's move this back. Something cool like this. Select this face, move this all the way forward. Now, I like this cube a lot, and what I might do is I'm going to go ahead and demo how to create this cylinder here for you. Or it's the cylindrical shape, stretched out cylindrical shape of the track, right? So the treads of this thing. So let's go to object mode, and I'm going to scale this out even more on the x-axis. So SX, grab this guy, and what I'm going to do is hit Shift D, and then just move it a little bit like that on the X. Now let's take a look at how we can create this out of a cube. Because remember what I told you guys in the last video when I was making the cake. I make all of my spheres and cylinders out of cubes. So we're going to use the same thing that we used to make the cake. So let's go in here, modifier, and let's go ahead and add our subdivision surface tool. So you can see it's here. Now what I can do is in edit mode, I can just go ahead and hit Control and R and click and start to shape this out. So something like this. And then I'm probably going to add 3 edges on the side here. So one up top here, one at the bottom here, and then one in the center. And this center line, so if I select 2 and click this, let's go ahead and turn this on so you can see that in our side view. If I pull this out like this, you can see that's giving me that nice curve. Here, let's turn this off. You can see I'm getting that nice curve from it there. And let's go ahead and turn X-ray mode back on, otherwise we can't select this back vert here. And let's pull this out as well. So we are starting to get that. Now that's pretty massive compared, but I'm still thinking about using this, making it look more like this. But that might actually be out of the scope of, we're making a little toy cake piece here, and we just need something a little low res here. So let's just go ahead and scale this down. So let's go back to object mode, turn off our X-ray mode here, and let's thin this out a little bit. So on the X-axis, I'm just going to scale that in a little bit. I'll probably bring this face in a little bit more. So in our edit mode here, oops, just bring this face in a bit. Yeah, something like this. Might pull this edge back just a tiny bit like that. And let's go ahead and just duplicate this with Shift D. Just move it over here on X. So we're slowly getting this going. We haven't really used much of our front view. Like I said, I don't know if I necessarily like that, but we're getting there. So what we have though is something that's pretty good. We will probably mirror this to the other side using the center cube. So for example, if you remember from our other video, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that right now. It's in edit mode. And then if I go in here and grab a mirror, my mirror tool here, and I select that center chunk, you can see it mirrored it out. It's used this as the mirror point, so it's at the exact location. And then I can go in here and then select my scale, bring that in just a little bit like that. So we're slowly getting there. So I'm going to end this video here. And what we'll do in the next video is we'll knock out the big scooper and then do a few more edits, maybe add a little bit of those cuts in, and then we want to unwrap and texture it. I'm probably going to tear this down too. It's a little high poly, but we'll see how it goes.